you go to school? And who's your daddy?
What do you think of what's going on right now, mate?
These evil little invisible parasites.
Satan-worshipping Freemason morons.
Do you understand what I'm saying?
We're not run by factions.
Get the fuck out of camera!
There are much more powerful international forces in play.
Is this pink eye? Is this what pink eye is? I don't fucking know what's happening.
Please go outside and look at the moon quickly.
It's been crazy, guys, but guess what? It's how it is, mate.
Mate, because I want to do you slowly.
But I ain't spending any time on it.
Welcome to the Conditional Release Program, a podcast that delves into the netherworld of cults, crims, and con artists. I'm Jack the Insider, and I've got to tell you right now, this is the script that we prepared for Skepticon 2025 in Melbourne in September. And
well, it was October 4th, but time does fly.
Was it? Yes, it was too. But we tried to strip the audio from, I guess, their
It was
Zoom.
the Zoom feed, yeah.
And it just didn't work. So we wanted to run this past you. It's a bit of a shame because Joel and I were huge hits.
We were fucking hilarious.
And it went over really, really well. So unfortunately, you'll miss, listeners, the thunderous applause and the outbursts of hilarity. But we also have a bit of a beer plug because, Joel, while you were there, you hooked up with CBC Co.
Yes, CB Co. I do like the added letter, though.
CB Co. Yes.
I dread to think what it stands for.
Confused. I'm sorry.
But it was really good. I went down there and got the sort of red carpet treatment. It was pretty good. The burger was incredible. The beer, the Hoppy Gilmore, they had these like Happy Gilmore themed beers, which was just hilarious and great. I strongly recommend going to the brewery because it was genuinely good. The Hoppy Gilmore should just take the place of the IPA in the core range, but look, it's not my decision to make. I'm sure it's really expensive to make because of some dumb hop that costs a fortune per kilo, but I loved it. It was great, and I recommend you do it as well. And of course, buy their beer. CRP10, I think, still works at checkout. Give it a shot because the beer is really reasonably priced and they're fucking great. I love Sepico. They're awesome. Great sponsor.
So we did this intro for Skepticon 2025, and thank you to CB Co. For their continued support of Joel's alcoholism.
You don't get much. You got some t-shirts, which is pretty sweet.
Got tripled my wardrobe there.
You literally did.
And so we did what we needed to introduce ourselves. This is a new audience for us. I mean, some of the skeptics,
Scum of them. Oh, that's a good
some of the skeptics, I should say. They're lovely people.
They were lovely.
And some very, very intelligent, bright people.
That's always terrifying.
There was some enormous academic brains there.
Mm-hmm.
So we needed to do some intros for ourselves, which we will go through. I mean,
We'll
regular listeners will know who we are, but there's some backstory from Joel about why he does what he does.
Why am I like this is the question.
Why am I like this?
Why am I like this?
And I had a little story that was sort of up the alley of the skeptics, so to speak.
Yeah, that was quite
on
clever.
the Ozenkadnook Tiger. So we'll get to that. So just bear in mind, listeners, that we are doing intros to ourselves that you might find, oh, I know who these people are. Why am I listening to this?
I reckon
this is all part of the reproduction of that performance.
Yes, and it was good. It was really enjoyable, and I want to once again thank the Skeptics for hosting us and bringing us down there and giving us a valuable experience. You've done a million of these type things, but it was the first time I've sort of, sat in an auditorium and done something like a performance. And outside of not being properly prepared, basically being slightly terrified, I think it went all right. Yeah, it's good. Anyway, let's just jump into it.
So off we go. Joel had a terrible bent spoon gag in there. In fact, the Skeptics Award for their Skeptics hand out an award every year called the Bent Spoon Award.
Yes.
I'm just trying to think who won it.
It was bloody, what's her name from Heart?
Yes.
Michael O'Neill's wife, Barbara O'Neill.
Beautiful thing.
But also Lucy Ora, the piss drinker, was nominated, which is very funny because a lot of this script is about
There
piss.
is a fair bit of piss drinking.
So that works.
Man.
Also, I want to give like a specific shout out to Chris Guest, who did pick us from the the primordial swamp and take us down for this. I think you deserve a specific shout out.
Thanks, brother. It was good. It was, and he's a lovely guy too, Chris. In fact, everyone we met there was just rather wonderful. I did a media panel the following day with a couple of journos, both very fine science journalists, and I was a little bit out of my depth, but that really went well too. And
I should have been there.
Difficulties in reporting when there's so much disinformation around, and that is a bit of an issue. And we talked about all sorts of free speech thingies in Australia, and I raised the defamation laws in Australia, which are utter garbage.
But there's better. Their serious harm threshold has made it much harder to make a vexatious claim, which I very much appreciate.
Yes, well, so we may as well just get on with it, Joe.
Yeah, I know. We just digress so hard, but whatever. We're going to do that.
Yeah, so we say it's time to crack out the silverware, bend it with our minds. Ben Spoon gagged there.
I was going to bend a spoon, but whatever.
Was some snake oil. I can feel the tightening in my pants as we speak, and I see your hair is growing back, Joel, albeit a little slowly. It's time to throw money at the problem. Even though we didn't have a problem, we had better get right to fixing it with miracle cures. How are you feeling today, Joel?
I'm feeling great, actually. I've been looking forward to doing the script for a while. I thought the first one was pretty good, and I reckon this second one's going to be a cracker.
Rubbish. You feel awful. You're miserable, and the only thing that will fix you are these supplements. A splash of your own urine, well, more than a splash if I've got anything to do with it, and a long lie down in a med bed.
How deeply Trumpian. Well, in that case, I'll send you a pineapple because I need you to fix me. I need you to fix me because all these problems you just insisted I had are now, I just feel like they're floating away, just thinking about all these beautiful solutions you have for me. Are you giving me jelly beans, Jack?
Yeah, just shut up and take your magic beans. No. This was a visual gag, folks. So
we didn't even do the visual gag.
The magic beans did cost a damn fortune. But sadly, it's not only shameless supplement grifters we have to watch out for, but the medical establishment, which can and does get it wrong, in this case horribly. And we're going to have a crack at them too. Yeah. See, we are equal opportunity skeptics. We'll have a crack at everyone.
That's right. I mean, we wouldn't have it any other way. But now it's time to introduce ourselves. So go on, Jack. Be interesting. Go on.
Okay. Well, I'm going to wing this story. We did script it, but it's kind of long, and I would just prefer to...
Fuck it. We've got plenty of time.
No, I'm going to carve it back.
All right.
See, fine. I killed the Ozenkadnook Tiger. Now, the Ozenkadnook Tiger, think mythical beasts around Australia, the Lithgow panther. I believe there might also be a panther in Warrnambool or outside Portland, possibly.
This is what happens when you go off the script. It's Lithgow Tiger, apparently.
Lithgow Tiger. Yes, there have been a number of tigers thereabout, but the Ozenkadnook Tiger is not a feline. It is possibly a marsupial, but definitely canine. A la thylacine. And I did debunk the whole thing without realising what I was doing. I wrote a piece in the wake of Bill Leake's death where we talked about pranks, and of course Bill Leake was often at the receiving end of one of the great pranksters of our times,
Warren Brown.
Daily Telegraph, yes, Telegraph's cartoonist Warren Brown. And no matter what Bill did in reply, Warren was always one step ahead of him.
Fucking ruthless.
So that was the point of the article. But I led with the story of the Ozenkadnook Tiger, and this came to a story that Bill told me, and he told me he said you can't do this as a story until after I'm gone. And sadly, of course, Bill did pass away, so I got the opportunity to tell the story. His father, Bill's father, was a postmaster, and he was regularly transferred around the country when these things were a thing, when Australia Post was a thing and not more or less a franchise.
Yeah.
And he was transferred to a place called Garoke in the Wimmera in Victoria's West. And when he arrived with Bill and his and the rest of the family, his lovely wife and Bill's mum, of course, and their children, Bill's dad learned of this sort of myth of the Ozenkadnook Tiger, a sort of thylacine-type beast that was said to prowl the Wimmera around Ozenkadnook. Now, you can look for Ozenkadnook on the map. There's not much really there. There's a farmhouse, and I think there's also a CFA or fire station there as well. So not much going on in Ozenkadnook. Not a lot more going on in Garoak, but there are people there and one or two shops and what have you. But in this rather remote part of Victoria, they settled in, and Bill's dad decided with a couple of mates that he was going to have a bit of fun at the hands of the locals. So they bought some cardboard and cut it into a thylacine shape, painted it up, and put it in the scrub there near Garoak. There's actually quite a lot of wetlands there, and took a snap of it. And then they sent it to the now defunct Wimmera Mail, which was the local paper, and think this would just be a grand joke, and that the locals would go, "Oh my God, there it is! There's the Ozenkadnook Tiger. We haven't seen it. We only heard about it. People had seen it. Those people who'd seen it never had a camera when they saw it, and usually were in drink." So the Ozenkadnook Tiger photograph was published, and it created more than a stir around Garoak. It went, I guess, in the sort of 1960s. We're in the middle of the 1960s. I think 1964. We're in the middle of pre-internet days, to be sure.
That is nice, yes.
But this was the equivalent of going viral. So it went from the Wimmera Mail to the Melbourne Sun, which was then the morning tabloid, and then winged its way all the way across to the UK, where a zoologist picked up on the photograph and determined that he was going to come to Australia, visit Garoak, and find the Ozenkadnook Tiger. And this so alarmed Bill's dad that he grabbed Bill by the shoulders and said, "Whatever you do, you cannot tell anybody about this until I'm dead." And so I wrote that story up, not really thinking too much more about it. It actually made Scientific American because there was a zoologist there who had been long fascinated by the Ozenkadnook Tiger, and he sort of accepted this, and the myth in his means was not entirely debunked by my story, because I hadn't taken into account a woman who had travelled up to Garoak from Melbourne with her family for I guess a catch up with some other family members in Garoak, and she claimed ownership of this photograph. Rilla Martin, because this caused such hubbub with Bill's dad keeping his head down in the background, she appeared on what I think was This Day Tonight, which is the ABC's current affairs program at the time, obviously in the Melbourne Sun. Much discussion about this. And she was interviewed. Now, the footage no longer exists, but those who have seen it say that she gave a pretty good account of herself until it came time to explaining how she took the photograph. And she explained that she was driving off sealed roads at the time, which is not unusual. When she saw the beast, she grabbed, while driving, she grabbed her box brownie camera, which was a sort of rather complicated thing to use. You had to stare down the lever, you had to load the film. There was a number of steps that you had to go through to get the box brownie to take the photo and have the subject in the photo. And that's when it got a bit sketchy, because she's, one, driving a car. No one else is in the car with her. And she is preparing, while continuing to motor down the road, she is preparing her box brownie. And the Ozenkadnook Tiger rather graciously stopped just for a moment so she could take a photo with the beast in the centre of the pic. And that's what she claimed. And it was all, yeah, sure, mate. And it didn't really fly. But of course, the actual photographers weren't going to put their hands up. The Wimmera Mail later on said, "Oh, we've lost the negative," but they didn't have the negative. They never did. It was Bill's dad and his mate who had sent just the image through, no negative. So, if you ever get the chance to look at the Ozenkadnook Tiger photograph, one thing you'll notice, well, there's a number of things that are worth noticing. Firstly, that the stripes go the wrong way as they do from a thylacine, and we will put that down. We will put that down to the fact that Bill's dad didn't have a great memory of the actual physiology of the thylacine, the Tasmania thylacine. So they just, they went, oh, okay. So they just actually ended up wrapping the stripes around the beast. And if you see a thylacine, it's got 3 stripes towards its back, but this has got stripes all around the neck and so forth. And that should have been enough for skepticism to arise. But many, including this Oxford zoologist, thought, well, yes, it's obviously a response to a changing environment, and sort of played the old Darwin card,
making excuses.
The other thing that people should have looked at is that there's a little bit of what looks to be either cardboard or wood holding the Ozenkadnook tiger up. I mean, it's just a flat piece of cardboard, so something's got to be behind it to keep it up, and you can actually see a little bit of it. So the Oxford-educated zoologist did come to Australia, put his pith helmet on and strode around Garoke for a while, but obviously didn't find the Ozenkadnook tiger, left to go back to the old dart, bereft. And so it continued to be mythical until I wrote this piece in, I think, 2017.
And you ruined it.
And I ruined it for everybody.
Ruined it for everyone.
But in a way I didn't. And this is the thing that I wanted to tell the skeptics, that despite coming forward with pretty significant evidence to dispatch the Ozenkadnook tiger as a myth and a myth only, when we go and type in Ozenkadnook tiger into Google, Scientific American says it's a myth. There are another couple of sites that say, is it a myth? ? While the others just have happily gone about their way saying, oh, there's the Ozenkadnook tiger. It might be related to the Queensland tiger.
Oh, yeah.
Which was also a thylacine type animal. Depending on the images that you look at, and we did have the opportunity to throw a couple of them up, and one did look a bit like a thylacine. There's an entire book of Australian monsters out there, which includes the Ozenkadnook tiger and the Queensland tiger. But there's another drawing, another rendering of a site of a sighting of the Queensland tiger, where it looks like a big fluffy cat. A beautiful big fluffy tail, and you look at it and go, yeah, mate, that's not tiger, mate. That what you got there is a cat. So the point of this was that a lie can make its way around the world while the truth is still putting its shoes and socks on. But even when you do provide almost irrefutable proof that something is a myth, something is entirely fictitious, something has been created, possibly just to amuse the locals or create a bit of tourism, and you actually debunk the myth, no one's listening.
Yeah, and there's resistance.
Except for Scientific American.
There's resistance to it as well. There's excuses. There's no, surely. Like, come on, guys. Be better.
The Ozenkadnook tiger continues to exist, certainly on the internet, and certainly features on a sort of encyclopedic book of monsters, because that's what the book's called, Australian Monsters. And there's the Ozenkadnook tiger next to the fluffy-tailed Queensland tiger. And seriously, if you saw this tiger, folks, the Queensland tiger that is with the big fluffy tail, you know Queenslanders aren't going to accept this. You know,
No.
they're just not going to have it. You know, they want their tiger to be, rawr, you know, bite your face off.
Yeah, like
And-
a football player type thing.
And what they've got there pretty much is a Persian cat.
Yes, just a really big cat.
So the lesson in that is even if you try and debunk this information, you're probably not going to succeed. Now, Joel,
Mm-hmm.
it's about time to tell your backstory. A lot of people may know it, but I was kind of fascinated by it, so off you go.
Oh, I like the idea of being interesting. Well, I'll have to skip the first joke because you didn't lead in properly. But
No,
basically, I'll just say, oh, that's all right. I don't give a shit. It's not even that funny. I was, we talked about sex.
Oh, yeah, it's really not funny. You know, I'll intercede.
In
and
being
say,
not
no.
funny, it is funny. That's the joy of bad comedy. It's like Norm Macdonald. You have to do it deadpan. It does help if you can see us. So I come from what you would call an alternative upbringing. And many of you will know this, but my mother is an astrologer and she makes her living doing astrology readings. And if you know what that is. Like, you spend a couple of hours with someone, they look at your chart, blah, blah, blah. And people got a lot of value from it. People came out of it feeling really good. And I see the value in that. But also what we did is we would hit the road as when I was a child and we'd sell these printout astrology reports at these psychic fairs. And there were these big events, the Mind Body Spirit Festival, you guys might be conscious about.
I remember those, yeah.
Look up Mind Body Spirit Festival on Nat's What I Reckon. Nat's YouTube thing is very, very funny. This is before he started doing the cooking thing, and he goes to Mind Body Spirit and the boat show as well. Anyway, that's a side thing. And there were also the smaller ones. There's a bloke named Gary Wiseman, good friend of the family. He had his psychic fairs in community centres in places like Orange or Albury. But it did lead to a certain way of thinking and a strong attraction to counter narratives. So I do feel like I kind of can put myself in the shoes of cookers per se, because I was one, so that's cool. So the first time I heard of skeptics was at the Mind Body Spirit Festival in Sydney. I was probably about 10 years old. It's a very fuzzy memory, but I remember this moment where my mother was just like, the skeptics are here. And there was this sort of gasp, and everyone was like, oh my God, they're asking questions. Hide, this is fucked. What are we going to do? And from there, it was clear. Like, I wasn't like, oh, what's this really interesting phenomenon no. They were the enemy. Skeptics were the enemy. The church was like enemy number one, but skeptics were still like enemy number two. And I find it very funny that I did a live podcast from Skepticon, proving that the world works in very mysterious ways. Of course, I don't endorse mysterious ways in any way, shape, or form, skeptics, if you're listening. It's all very unmysterious and quite predictable. Science. But look, I don't have plans to address the clergy. I'm happy to convert to the skeptic movement, though, because I have found myself being a little bit more questiony. But yeah, undying belief in a God is not on the list of...
It's not for you.
No, it's not for me. So look, I don't want to shit on the people that I used to hang out with at these fairs. They were fucking great. They were a part of my upbringing. One of them's a listener, which I find pretty funny. Love you, Ben. But over the years, I did find it a bit difficult to maintain a belief in the paranormal because, I don't know, to be fair, the normal is weird enough. I'm exhausted with that. But I did give it a crack. And to give you an idea of how this played out, I was around 14 and puberty was starting to take hold of my teenage brain. There were hormones floating around. And I looked around at some of these astrology conferences. I went to one in the US and I realized the ratio of male astrologers to female astrologers was quite strongly in my favor. And this, of course, is a good motivator to learn astrology. Oh, I mean, what haven't men done in the pursuit of... Anyway. So, of course, the plan was to become an astrologer and get laid, and the only pickup line better than what's your star sign has got to be following with what's your ascendant, what's your moon. And if anyone's wondering, mine is Aquarius, and I have an Aries moon. So take that, motherfuckers. I don't know what that really means. Mum,
I don't know. I have no idea, but it sounds impressive.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I fully know what I'm talking about. I don't, though. I started reading into it. There's a little book called Linda Goodman's Star Signs, Sun Signs. And the issue is I read it and all the signs seem to kind of be the same. I'm not saying astrology is complete bullshit. I don't know. I'm just saying that, there's certain traits that get attached to certain signs, but I could not get past the fact that it just seemed like all the signs blended into each other. And they were sort of hedging their bets on it. It's like, oh, you're a Scorpio, you've got this, but you've also got this. And I'm like, that's a direct contradiction. But I guess anyone could be a Scorpio now because it's sort of everything. Thanks, guys. So that didn't really work. But then, of course, my father, who also worked at the Stan's Psychic Fairs, he engaged in the study of numerology. And this was not something that I pursued because the idea of some fruity Greek mathematician bullshit did not seem like a good way to get laid. So I didn't really pursue the whole calculator-based woo science. I stuck with the planets for about 10 minutes. That being said, numerology did impress upon the federal opposition leader, Susan Lee, who you will know added an extra S into her name, believing it would make her life more exciting.
The sibilant Susan Lee.
Yes. Now, I'm just going to say that I actually listened to Question Time on the radio in my car, so I think Question Time is pretty cool, but I don't know if that's exciting. Is that what made it? Is that what kind of life is that? No. So yeah, I did have to ask myself basically, is this all bullshit? Should I be chasing this down? And I just sort of went, yeah, because my skepticism kicked in. And I will say that a part of my skepticism is probably down to a bit of bullshit fatigue these days. But I really did used to entertain the idea of something fantastic out there in the great expanse. Now I'm just old and tired. I'm more worried about my taxes than, extraterrestrial fucking beings. But look, there is a possibility. And like I say, I don't want to just like shit on everyone in my past. There is a possibility that these Greek astronomers and mathematicians figured out some sort of way to know why me, born in November on Melbourne Cup Day in 1984, happens to feel a little bit more shitty on certain days than others. I don't know. Maybe they've got the keys to the castle, but I tell you what, I just could not fucking suss it out. So look, is your mood based on vibes sent from Neptune? Maybe. But is it something that happened to you this week that is quite personal? Probably. Look, I don't really care. Maybe I should just add an extra E to my name. Do you think that would, that's exciting?
What,
you're not excited?
Joel Hill?
Joel!
Oh, I see. Put them together. Yeah.
Think of all the friends I would get as a result of that weird fucking move. Anyway, it's just as weird as Susan. From there, the addiction to Canada has led me toward conspiracy theories, and this is what you're more familiar with because I spent much of my youth ranting about how 9/11 was an inside job, how fluoride in the water was a government plot to make us all stupid, and I think it actually turns out that the government doesn't need to put fluoride in the water to make us stupid. That occurs naturally.
Yeah, that's just
calcification.
Organic.
Yeah, that's just from being a fucking idiot. It also goes without saying that I was unvaccinated and also a loud, annoying anti-vaxxer. So my first vaccination was about 8 years ago, maybe, when I cut myself at work. I stabbed myself in the hand. It was pretty nasty. And they said, when was your last tetanus shot? And I just was like, never. I like, what? And that got a sideways glance, especially with the individual I was with. When they were administering the DTaP shots at school, which would have been my last tetanus shot, I stood around telling people they were being manipulated by Big Pharma and laughed at people that had adverse reactions.
You're a cuckoo, Joe.
I was a fucking asshole. And Tom Howe's got a big lump on his arm, if I remember correctly, and I laughed at him and said he was probably going to die.
Adverse reaction, mate.
He's still alive, by the way, which is a real shame.
That's a shame, yeah. That's really messed up your theories.
It is. It's been embarrassing for me ever since. So, and all that follow the money bullshit, like as if I had any idea how any of that worked. Surprisingly, nobody vaccinated that day died from the jab, including Tom with his nice tennis. He had a fucking lump. It was huge. Anyway, but it's actually weird. Like usually, like it's been like 20 years since school. Like surely, like someone's died, right? Like what a healthy grade. I think they're trying to fuck with me, to be fair. So years later, I felt like I sort of outgrew the conspiracy theories. Having this sort of secret knowledge and feeling special was replaced by just having knowledge, because it's actually okay not to feel like the smartest person in the room and be some kind of cool fucking guy who knows everything. Thinking that everyone else is just these program sheep is not as virtuous as it feels. And this is something a lot of cookers need to fucking come to terms with. Going to university really taught me this sort of sense of humility and critical thinking, which I think has really helped me get away from this kind of like terrible path. But also conspiracy theories did turn to shit. Let's face it. I mean, like after Bush, where all the good shit was happening, blah, blah, Obama is the Antichrist, show us your birth certificate, fucking blah, blah. Like if you kept going then, it's pretty fucking embarrassing. I mean, 9/11 being an inside job, at least there's a conversation there. Bush and Cheney being evil bastards. They are evil bastards.
There's really not.
Yeah,
But
it's
anyway.
dumb, but like at least like it's not like but
friend of
everyone's
mine that I
Satan.
worked in. Friend of mine worked in publishing. He sent me a DVD,
Oh yeah, that's where it
which
all
was one of
starts.
these conspiracy things. And I didn't look at it. I just threw it in the bin. I mean, it's
Yeah,
you know,
that's fair enough.
yeah.
But I mean, like,
Well,
it's,
I saw 2 planes hitting the Twin Towers in,
yeah, but were you there?
in the US. Well, I saw it live on television.
Oh,
both
yeah.
planes hitting.
Tell live vision.
and-
where the lies come from.
Yeah, I know. Yeah,
Yeah.
moon landings
right.
and all that sort of stuff. But
Well,
I mean,
one of my close
it's
friends
really
still does
hard
that.
to run a conspiracy theory around that stuff. But yeah, they kept doing it.
Well, jet fuel doesn't melt steel beams, mate. But look, when it comes down to it, you don't really need a conspiracy theory to know the military-industrial complex in the US is a deeply unpleasant institution. The Iraq War and the Afghanistan War had a lot of fucking sus shit going on. And generally speaking, all of these chambers of power allow misery and political corruption to stay afloat. And that's not really necessarily like a conspiracy theory as much as just a conspiracy. I mean, like a lot of people working toward a goal. It's not controversial. But now, of course, the conspiracy movement is just this pathetic rabble of attention-seeking dickheads having a decade-long cry wank about trans people, Satan, and the Jews. And
There you
I
go.
just don't want to borrow that. There's just nothing interesting about it at all. It's fucking stupid. So look, I will admit that maybe conspiracy theories have always been a bit stupid. Maybe I was a bit stupid. But at this point, it's really embarrassing. And the dumber it gets, it seems like the more alluring it gets, the more mainstream it gets. And that, to me, is a bit of a concern. So people are falling for it, as you are all very well aware, and people are getting really weird about it. So here we are, of course, on this podcast you're all very well familiar with, doing our bit to mock the dead shits that monetize misery and cheerlead for fascism, all to sell a bunch of bullshit brain and dick supplements,
There you
grab
go.
a few cash-stuffed paper bags from a nice Russian fellow who likes the way they think. Benny Johnson, fuck you. Anyway, it's vitally and bloody important that we don't let the idiots win, and at this point they are miles ahead, and there's not much time left on the clock. So on that lovely note, I must say, it's looking bad, folks. It's looking bad.
Look, just between you, me, and our listeners, Joe.
Oh,
I mean, I think it
how
takes
intimate.
real strength of character to throw off the sort of belief systems that you develop in childhood, directed by your parents. I mean, actually,
Yeah.
takes a fair bit of strength to do that. We do see, one person I'm particularly impressed with is a fellow I follow on Instagram, former member of Exclusive Brethren. He's now been
Okay.
cast out. He's been cut
Interesting.
off from his family. His family
Yeah, okay.
regard him as a traitor, all this sort of stuff.
Ugh.
I mean, he's basically driven this story that we've been looking at now for a while, that Exclusive Brethren were handing out for the Liberal Party, even though they don't let their own members vote, and that it is an
Yeah.
astonishingly cruel cult that practices exclusion for those members who decide they've had enough, don't like the tone of what they're doing, and break away. That means they'll never speak to their family members again, which is
Yeah.
a particular cruelty.
It
But
is.
I
Fucked
guess
up.
my point is that it takes great strength of character to say, well, everything that I've learned through my childhood is actually wrong. I mean, perhaps not everything, but certainly around science and medicine is wrong. And
I feel like that might be a compliment in there somewhere.
yeah, well, I think it takes a certain strength of character to do that.
Yeah. Look, what I will say, as far as that sort of general turning my back on a sort of long litany of emotive knowledge, I must say, is that there were a lot of institutions that were there very easily within my grasp that were able to help me sort of change my perspective on things. What I will say is also that I wasn't isolated, which is really important, and a lot of cookers are. They're no longer invited to Christmas, and they just get further and further down the rabbit hole. I think that these days, one of the big differences between what I had and what people have now is the love bombing and the positive reinforcement that comes with being a conspiracy theorist now. When I was a conspiracy theorist back in the day, my friends genuinely thought I was just insufferable, and it was fine. Like they were okay with it. I'm still friends with them now, but like at the same time, I'd be in the pub ranting about some bullshit. And they just be like, all right,
Yeah,
mate.
that reflects pretty well on them too. They've just sort of, they've gone, wow, it's just Joel,
Good on you.
He's
Yeah,
a
exactly.
cooker.
Yeah. They were really nice about it. But like these days, it's like, oh, you're so smart. Oh, you're so great. Come to this new event. Oh, we're going to be, you get a girlfriend in the movement. You get fucking like, a bit of clout. People start listening to you for the first time in your life. People think you're smart. Like it's not good.
There's a bit of a lure there.
There's a lot
and I
of
think
allure
that's
there.
That's what happens with cookers too. I was
they
just
get
looking
trapped.
at Beck Freedom, Frau Freedom, she's been called. And that's her gig, right? That's her thing now.
What else has she got?
Because exactly, what else has she got?
As Tom Tanaki said in the latest video, she's a Kmart mum.
But in this particular persona, this thing that she's, I understand it, there's a sort of familial connection with cookers as well too.
Yeah,
at the extreme right. But this is the only way people will ever listen to her,
or have any kind of purpose at all. It's really, really tricky. I'm very much blessed in the fact that I come from a very broad church, to use a term from a bunch of people on the vote for, and find my way out of these sort of things somewhat organically. But if my entire purpose and life's meaning relied on this, I think I would have found it very difficult. And that's why I find it difficult to take the compliment per se, because I feel like I've got a lot easier than people these days, especially like Exclusive Brethren. Fuck, that's a cult. But to find yourself...
That's obviously another level, but yes.
Leaving the cooker movement now, especially if you're a freedom movement person and you realize it's all bullshit, the whole idea that you're meant to support Trump should be a massive red flag for anyone who thinks that government overreach is a bad thing. I mean,
or Kennedy and the Maha stuff, yeah.
Oh, I mean, look at it; it's a complete joke. But yeah, they toe the party line. They say exactly what they're meant to say, and they just continue wearing red hats and being fucking stupid. The most easily manipulated, gullible sheep fucks I've ever seen in my entire life. And if they had a shred of fucking decency, integrity, or intelligence, they would leave the movement in seconds. But that would also shed any sense of self-worth they have, and they're not prepared to do that.
And relevant.
Anyway.
And that's what must make it very, very difficult for a lot of people to leave. I mean, here they are. They feel that they're successful. They talk in echo chambers.
Totally. And they're changing the world
with small numbers, with relatively small numbers of people. But there's a sense of community there.
Yeah, it's a huge community. Yeah.
And then there's a sense of self-worth and relevance that, you can weigh into this. And part of that whole problem is that you've got people in echo chambers, each pushing the other on or others on to say more and more extreme things.
Totally.
And that's kind of really where you're not wanting. That's all of a sudden you've got Wyambilla on your hands.
Well, the algorithm perpetuates this as well, because the more crazy shit you say, the more you get pumped up on these algorithms, because it gets more views, it gets more engagement. Even people just slowing down their scrolling, being like, "What the fuck is that?" That counts.
Yeah,
you get boosted for that.
Yeah, well, I still maintain that it takes a certain strength of character to remove yourself from that environment.
No, I totally agree. I totally agree. And in my situation, I think I had a very blessed situation. I think in other people's situations, they have a much bigger challenge. And that's evidenced by the fact that none of them fucking do it. They stay there. They cheerlead for a fascist after whinging about lockdowns. Amazing. Like, how embarrassing. How fucking
it is incredible.
Ideologically embarrassing.
We can't go off-piste like this any further, Joel, because we have to get back and talk about supplements.
Yes, we do. Yes, we do. Okay, well, it has been a rough year for science and a general sense of shared reality, of course. Since the tangerine twat came back into the White House with his heroin-fueled, craggy-faced sidekick Bobby Jr., there has been a sustained attack on science. There has been funding for universities being promptly diverted toward giant data centers for AI chatbots and virtual reality girlfriends. And in the case of Elon Musk's model Grok, a virtual girlfriend with whom you can discuss the real history of Germany. Isn't that nice?
Isn't that nice?
About time. Technology's finally paid off.
But now I want to talk about health. We want to talk about health. It's something best neither seen nor heard. And while it's nice to go to the doctor and hear that everything is normal, you don't really get good news from the doctor. You just hope it's not bad news. And the good news is you can buy good health. Well, not always, if it's really difficult. It didn't work out for Steve Jobs, for example, who had a liver transplant, but no one or who needed a liver transplant, but no one would give Steve Jobs their livers. Bad people. I think there was an offer made, wasn't there, Joel?
There was. Tim Cook, he offered one,
Tim
and
Cook said,
Jobsy turned him down.
"You can take one of my 3 livers." And I've got plenty out the back.
I'd rather fucking die. And it's such a suck up move as well. Like, you're like, oh, I reckon if I offer the boss a liver, and look, he's CEO now, so it certainly worked. But the harshest rejection known to man is possibly just having someone say, your liver? Nah, rather die. No, thanks. Nah, you're sweet.
So I don't know what happened there. But look, you can't just say, well, Steve needs a liver and just give him any old liver.
No.
It's just not going to work. I mean,
no.
You need a liver that is going to like being in Steve's body.
Also, one that's used to juice fasts, which
so I mean, there were stories about him having some sort of private jet and an entire team of surgeons waiting for the right liver to be offered.
Well, we've covered it before. I think we talked about this with Dr. John.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah.
So, look, this is what's happened there because no one would give Steve a liver.
Well,
now we should have phones like fucking postage stamps. If Steve had been given a liver, we'd carry phones around. We actually could just insert them directly into our brains
or our anuses. But look, if Steve,
I prefer something larger. But anyway,
I'm just being aspirational. So if Steve Jobs couldn't buy health, then what chance do you have? I mean, you can eat well.
Exactly
but
right.
What does that even fucking mean? I mean, there's an army of idiots on TikTok, very attractive ones, I'm sure, telling people the latest health trend, making you think, oh, maybe I could be like that person in activewear, and then of course selling them superfood nonsense through affiliate marketing programs and pyramid schemes. I mean, you guys have seen this shit all before. But the thing is that some people make real money from this, and I get that. That's fine.
Money. Yeah.
Lots of people don't. Most of them don't. They lie for a few pennies. Like, that's sad. At least sell your soul for a decent packet of cash.
Well, it's aspirational, Joel.
It is. It's very aspirational. It's fucking embarrassing. So, what can you do? Anyway, so the TGA in Australia does an okay job of regulating the supplement industry in Australia, and we still have walls of bullshit lining our chemists and all those fluoro tags at Chemist Warehouse. And it's all in this name of wellness, the house of wellness, making claims that just fall under legal requirement not to blatantly lie about the health benefits of a herbal vitamin.
Yeah, look, the supplement industry had a global turnover in 2024 of around $486 billion US. It's projected to reach $704 billion US by 2030. In contrast, global revenue for big pharma, or pharmaceuticals in general, is $1.7 trillion US again. It's about 3 times the volume. But it has actual outcomes, and there's a process before that these pharmaceutical companies have to follow before they can take their things to the marketplace.
Exactly, yeah, and there's government-backed subsidy programs, the whole thing. So when you put it into that sort of perspective, the idea that it's only a third is fucking insane.
It's only a third, but in the not too distant future, essentially 5 years from now, it'll be almost half of the revenue from pharmaceuticals.
Totally fucked in the head. So Nepo baby Marcus Blackmore made about $330 million when Blackmore's went private and sold the Kirin. And yes, that is funny because the Japanese beer giant is now selling you the beer and the supposed hangover cure.
It's a win-win.
Yeah, it's great. But don't pop too many Baroccas, though, because what may have felt like delirium tremens from all that Kirin beer turns out to be nerve damage from a vitamin B6 overdose. Yes, there is a class action.
Overdose gives you the little tingly feeling. It's a really interesting story, Joel, because the TGA relied on a study that I think was completed in the 90s where people were assessed who had taken 50 milligrams or more of vitamin B6 on a daily basis.
Yeah, okay.
Well, the
Sounds like a
daily accepted dose of vitamin B6 for any person is I think it's between 1.4 and 1.7 milligrams.
Okay.
And it's found widely in all foodstuffs.
Yeah.
So there's no real need to be taking these things. But supplement sellers will call, hey, this is brain food.
It makes you feel vitalized.
And, and market it on that basis. Now, there was a subsequent study done more recently, released in about 2022, but certainly in the last few years, that says, oh, hang on just a minute there. If you're taking 50 or more milligrams, there is a very strong prospect that you will encounter or suffer from nerve damage, basically
damage.
loss of sensation, pins and needles,
tingly feelings.
But in a serious case, quite serious circulatory and neurological issues around your extremities, hands and feet.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so it's just kind of crazy, and it is one of those things that just has slipped under the regulators' gaze, and has if you walk down the aisle of any supermarket or any chemist shop, look for the vitamin and supplement aisles. And have a look there. You'll find stuff that is just so widely overusing vitamin B6 that it is really, really dangerous, and no one really gives a shit about it. Well, it's just a few pins and needles, but it can be worse than that. It can be incapacitating.
There is the class action that's happening now.
There is.
Listeners can look into it. Maybe I'll put a link in the show notes. I probably won't. And that is basically suing them for this. I'm not sure what the basis of the legal basis is, but it is basically for the damaging imposed by Berocca. People have taken it every day because the ads told them to, and they went, "Oh, that tingle must be the Berocca BB Bounce." No, it's not the Berocca BB Bounce. No, it's nerve damage.
Now I can't feel my legs.
Yes, now my life is utterly painful. Oh, well.
Yeah. Or while moving on, speaking of right-wing politics, Joe Rogan, famous for peddling bullshit on his irritatingly successful and objectively boring podcast, co-founded a supplement company called Onnit. That's ONNIT. I'd never heard of this before.
Get on it, mate.
Their most popular product, Alpha Brain, makes you smarter. Gee whiz. Joe must have. Did you remember Joe from his days on, what was it called? News radio or something?
Yeah. He was the meathead.
He must have taken a shitload of those Alpha Brain tablets.
It's made him much smarter. You can tell.
Yeah. So he takes it himself. Is it vitamins B6? Do you know what's in it?
I reckon there's probably some in there.
I reckon there'll be some in there.
You can see
it works by listening to his podcast. He was incredibly dumb. And now he's like Steve Hawking, although just a bit shorter, than the theoretical physicist.
He would be so upset hearing that, if only. So on it, sold to Unilever for approximately $400 million.
Oh, no.
I know. This isn't a happy ending. So, look, he may be an idiot, but he's a very rich one. Marketing magic pills to idiots is big money, and this is what they don't talk about in the Maha movement. In the US, supplement makers can make wild claims about their products as long as they're labeled dietary supplements and say these magic words.
This statement has not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease.
That's it. Magic words, mate. Magic words. These magic words allow snake oil salesmen to peddle just complete bullshit idiots. And look, God bless America. That's freedom. That's freedom. That's just
capitalism.
Yeah, good. So look, I am thankful for the TGA. We've got a lot of work to do, but we still have a massive supplement industry that sells products based on dubious claims and eventually results in nothing more than some expensive fluoro piss.
Fluoro piss if you're lucky, which is always just, oh, look, it's purple.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I think maybe you need to see a doctor, but yes.
Yes, you probably should.
It looks like my legal
I'm no
textbooks.
stranger to seeing a fair bit of blood in mine.
Ooh,
and it's exciting and also a little bit scary.
That does sound very scary. I haven't been punched in the kidneys hard enough to experience that, but one day, I'll be right out for it.
Well, let's talk about piss.
Okay, all right, let's do it. Yeah.
You can get on the piss, you can take the piss, you can take a piss, but you can also take piss.
Yes.
E.g., consume it.
Yes, you can. Urophagia is actually the practice of consuming urine for medicinal, health, or cosmetic purposes. It's often referred to as urine therapy. Maybe people who do this need therapy. I have my own backstory.
Cosmetic purposes, Joe.
Yeah.
Some
You
sort of
douse your face in
regenerative
it.
stuff. I mean, it's not going to do much for your breath.
Yeah, no, a bit of moisturizer, mate. Don't worry about it.
Ugh.
Yeah, piss face. It's good. So most people will just chug a tall glass of nature's nectar, but there are other ways to get into you as quickly as it came out. And of course, this fuckhead David Avocado Wolf, yes, that idiot who is still active on social media and posts a lot like a paid Russian asset would.
Interesting.
Funny
you
that.
say that.
Yeah, interesting. He pushes the idea of urine as a vaccine for cancer.
What, his urine? Specifically his? Or just anybody's?
From my days dabbling in urine therapy, yes, shut up. It has to be your own.
Got to be your own. Can't have anybody else's.
Nah, it's got to be your own. Because you've got all your own specific antibodies in there, apparently.
But where's the money? I mean,
where's
the
money?
grift? Where's the scam? I mean, piss is free. I mean, God forbid I come up with, and I have to measure. So I know pretty much how much a person of my size and weight comes up with any given day. It's around about, and I think people make the mistake of thinking that if you drink, let's say 2 litres of water a day, then you must urinate 2 litres of water a day. But it doesn't work that way. The water doesn't go through into your stomach and into your alimentary canal and then gets filtered through your kidneys. It's absorbed into your bloodstream. Liquid is absorbed into your bloodstream, and your kidneys do act as that filter when they filter the blood. And what's coming through as urine, what are we talking about? 6 by about 300 mils. So about 1.8 litres of urine a day for a man of my size. I suspect that has something to do with it.
Yeah,
So
well, look.
that's how much you're creating every day, thereabouts.
I will admit that creating that much medicine doesn't seem to have a commercial application. And not only that, but also you can find yourself in situations where people are just telling you what to do with your free miracle juice that doesn't actually require any kind of apparatus at all.
So where is the grift?
Well, look, sometimes it's just making content. So, for example, Troy Casey, the self-proclaimed certified health nut, gives himself urine enemas. And, of course, he didn't learn this from a doctor. Just a mate showed him.
Funnily enough.
Yeah, just a mate. He says that openly. It's a mate. But it's attention. This guy gets attention. And, at the end of the day, this guy can charge a speaker's fee. He can get money from engagement. There is some money to be made, but it's not a lot. It's sad money. He's probably doing okay because he's probably selling a whole bunch of supplements on the side. But at the same time, when it comes to the urine thing, they're just kind of doing it for clicks, which is quite fucked in the head. But there are still a few professional, entrepreneurial piss practitioners out there who know how to make a quid.
There you go. I was just going to say, this is a slight aside, that, part of this sort of, homeopathic treatment, particularly for serious illness, is a coffee enema.
Yeah, it's not
coffee
good.
enemas, and you just think, well, look, how are you going to get to sleep if your anus is up all night?
That joke was absolutely worth it. I must say,
I know. It was a long lead up, but it needed to be done.
No, look, I will say with the enema thing is that it's insanely counterproductive, but also counterproductive in regard to something that's held very closely by alternative health practitioners.
Yeah,
one of the very few.
There's a case that we'll be looking. Sorry to interrupt, but there's a case that we are going to look at that is now before the coroner in the UK. It's quite a famous case. Involves a massive anti-vaxxer and her daughter, who died. And instead of the chemotherapy that she needed for a rare type of blood cancer, rare leukemia, it was coffee enemas and
Well, look, some
really
called Conspiracy actually recently did a very long series on that, which is definitely worth a listen. But yeah, when it comes to the enemas thing, when you give yourself an enema, you wash out all your bacteria. And your gut biome is one of the very few things that alternative health practitioners speak dogmatically about that's actually quite true. Your gut biome can dictate your mood. It's hugely important. So when you've got these fucking idiots like Dave O'Neig's going and getting these enemas, they are literally flushing themselves of their gut biome in the pursuit of better health. It is the most counterproductive. It's like anytime you take
Well, I know it's
antibiotics, you feel like shit.
counterproductive. I wouldn't expect there's any particular danger around it, but
No, it's terrible for you. It's so bad. When you destroy your gut biome, it has terrible consequences on your immune system, on your mood. It's actually that's a science thing. Like, there's not a lot of science behind these things, and it's so funny that the one thing that a lot of alternative practitioners tend to speak about, which is gut biome and gut health, this is the one thing they'll piss on by saying, "No, get an enema." It's almost like they want to die in pain. It's just bizarre. Anyway, do you want to do George or Jorge? Actually, this is Jorge. Jorge.
Yeah. Look, in the early 1990s, Dr. Jorge Borrell of California, Borrell possibly, of California, devised a way to cure allergies by injecting piss.
Good.
He has the patient expose themselves and then get in a lot of trouble with police. So no, he has the patient expose themselves to the allergen and then takes the piss, runs it through a centrifuge and a filter, and pops it right back into them through their buttocks.
Good.
I don't know what this is doing. There'd just be a ton of uric acid. A series of 8 weekly injections costs about, wait for it, folks, $480 US.
Wow.
With 700 large in Australia, or 700 in Australia. Which, it's not a lot of money, but this bloke is running 2 clinics and claimed to have 4,000 patients. So there's, there's a 3 Porsche driveway right there.
Yeah, paid for by piss, right?
And more recently, another Dr. William Hitt, who practiced out of Tijuana, is doing the same thing. You could probably go to Tijuana with Dr. William Hitt's clinic and bring a greyhound with you as well. He'll look after them both at the same time, you and the dog. Administering piss injections and charging a fortune for it is what Dr. William Hitt does. And that fucking degenerate David Avocado Wolf promotes his clinic just 20 minutes south of the border. Why would they do that job? Anyway,
Why would they? It is fucking terrible. Terrible.
I can't think of a motive.
And, of course, you don't need to sell something to make money these days, because attention is not just a form of petty validation for shallow idiots, but a monetized content stream can turn into a decent income. All you have to do is look down the barrel of a camera and lie about the magical properties of Pavlov's lemonade, and you can live comfortably off the proceeds. And remember, the bigger the lie, the more the clicks, the more the money. Too easy. 1, 2, 3, 4. So there is one legitimate reason to take a sip from the septic tank, and that is melatonin. Morning urine has a bunch of melatonin in it.
Really?
Yeah, it does. Yeah. So I'm a bit of a cheapskate. I like Osbargain as much as the next guy. But I'm prepared to pay $10 for 100 melatonin pills off iHerb, even though it does go into Dr. Oz's coffers, to avoid drinking 100 glasses of morning Dick Sprinkle.
Yeah.
Thanks for asking.
I think that's wise.
I think so. Look, that's just me. Some of you guys might be more thrifty than I am. If you're saving a lot of money on melatonin, maybe throw out the Patreon.
Well, yes, that would be a very wise move. But look, it's clear you aren't a big fan of taking a swig from the bedpan. But be honest, you were a bit cooked. You've said that at the front of the show. Did you give it a crack, so to speak?
Well, by coincidence, yes, I have. Yeah, my mother was a huge advocate for urine therapy and used it extensively on her skin cancers before having them removed medically to avoid certain death. And it was very effective. Just ask her. It's the real reason why she's alive today.
Right.
Yeah, thanks. So I went to the Roskilde Festival in 2005 in Denmark and got on the piss. But what goes in must come out. And if you times that by 100,000 people, you have a bit of an issue. You see,
you do.
While some people, sort of. So while some people actually bother going to the toilet, said Portaloo, most people just piss on the fence. But I pissed on the fence, of course, or anywhere, really. And this results in piss dust. Now, I can say that there are people who have backpacks with water spraying the fences to keep the piss wet to avoid this process, but that shit dries and turns into piss dust. And this ends up being tons of piss dust. So if you Google it, you'll see this is a thing. Roskilde piss dust. It's a thing. So once the festival's over, with lungs full of piss, I felt a little bit sick.
Unsurprisingly.
So what should have been a fairly harmless cough turned into a spot of bronchitis. And I mean, ain't nobody got time for that. You know, it's bronchitis. I'm sure the Marlboro Reds had nothing to do with it, of course, but it was mostly piss dust. I'm guessing. Now, while I suffered in cold sweats in a very expensive and shit hotel room in Copenhagen watching Danish TV and wanting to die, I figured the only solution was to fight fire with fire, piss with piss, like my mother told me.
So it wasn't the piss that gave you bronchitis. You just developed that with probably on the durries and a little bit run down. And
Look,
then
it wouldn't surprise me.
You had a flash of inspiration.
But there was a lot of piss dust in the air, so it could have been that. Who knows?
Could have been, yeah.
But yeah, I did just decide to chug a schooner of my very best.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Quick question.
Go.
Did you do it? Did you drink it chilled? You know, did you pop it in the hotel room fridge, or did you just drink it warm?
I drank it like a goddamn man, diluted and warm. Because apparently you got
diluted.
Yeah, diluted. You put a little bit in the glass.
Pineapple cordial in with it.
No, you put more water in there to water it down. That was and looking back, I'm like, why does you have to dilute it? Like, what does that even mean? But yeah, that was what I was taught. Anyway, so look, I would love to say I was cured by the yellow Jesus juice, and I can't say conclusively that I wasn't, but I was quite ill for a few days to follow. I must say, the power of belief did carry me, though, and I did believe that my Tuborg lace tincture saved me from a full respiratory collapse. And, I mean, I'm still alive, right? So it worked.
Yeah, there's the
Argue
proof.
with that, science, nerds.
I have a somewhat different setup to a lot of people in urination. And so I had my ileum removed, which is the section of the lower bowel, and turned into a neobladder. And that means it gets stitched up like a baseball, and it sits in your abdomen as and is the place where your urine will collect.
It's diverted like roadworks.
Yeah, but the ileum does what the ileum is supposed to do, and it is that it secretes mucus.
Oh, nice.
So
this is fucked.
When not that it's a spectator sport, you don't want to see this, but the first run of my urine when I catheterize through a stoma is thick, snotty urine.
Oh, Jesus. We need a content warning now.
Sometimes you have to go, and it just blocks unblocks, and out comes the good stuff. But
it is a medical miracle that you're alive, to be fair.
The very, I'm not sure why I'm saying all this, but except to say it's a little bit alarming the first time you notice it, and it's not really an issue provided you stay reasonably well hydrated,
yeah.
But if you get dehydrated, your piss
can get real
grim. This is a line from the usual suspects. The piss just will turn into a kind of yellow snot.
Oh, good
and it takes a
Lord.
while to get out. So that's why I don't drink as much these days, because
that's why the CV Co sponsorship is useless.
Dehydrate.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden I'm struggling to get it out.
Well, that's why I get all the proceeds.
All right. Enough of that.
That was good.
It's enough humiliation for now for both you and me.
Really.
Let's look north to a man who is pathologically unable to feel shame. The Trumpster. Because the Trumpster has endorsed med beds, which aren't even a thing.
No, they're not. So Donald Trump, who is an idiot, posted a video at 10:19 p.m. Saturday, September 27th on his Truth Social account, which claimed that medbed hospitals were coming to the US
Hooray.
and everyone was going to get a medbed card. That sounds a lot like fucking socialism to me. Usually when someone posts something stupid at 10 p.m. on a Saturday night, it's because they've been on the piss, as we just explained. But while Trump does allegedly engage in certain acts involving piss, he does not get on the piss. He's a teetotaler, and he does not drink, which means he has no excuse for this incredibly stupid post, except for advanced dementia.
Yes, we'll use that. But I just want our listeners just to ponder for a moment now what the world would be like if Trump did drink.
Yes, I must say, yeah. Oh man, him like it's like mixing Trump with Pete Hegseth. I don't know, no good.
Yeah. Look, the fact that Trump shared a video is deeply concerning about medbeds. It's deeply concerning about a million levels. Did he actually watch it? It was him speaking, saying things he never said. Would that not be a bit of a red flag for authenticity?
Yeah, well, I mean,
not
like,
Mr. Trumpster.
Who remembers what you said a week ago? So obviously the content of the video is complete bullshit, but it perpetuates an incredibly dangerous myth. The good guys, otherwise known as the white hats, are soon to deliver a technology called medbeds, which will cure all physical ailments. And it's mostly pushed towards QAnon adherents who are gullible enough to believe this kind of bullshit.
It's a very QAnon thing, isn't it? And it is
dumb.
fertile ground for grift. I mean, terrible human beings are selling various assurances on the internet to be first in line to use the medbeds once they are ready to go. They're almost ready, tantalizingly close.
Almost.
And the video does not explicitly mention the website that sells them, but the cards are clearly featured. And are incredibly easy to find. If you have any problem finding them, they are all over Twitter. Hello. Thanks to the affiliate marketing program where terrible grifting scumbags are given a commission for each card they sell using their link.
Yes. So it goes out saying the website's a scam, and it is, of course, a very steep lesson for anyone dumb enough to fall for this. Because
these are going to be exy.
Yeah, they sell one medbed card for a casual $686.12.
So it's not a bed. It's just a card. That's all you'll get.
It's a card that may or may not give you access to a medbed. But, Jack, be smart about this.
Sorry for being cynical.
Well, I mean, if you being economical, you can get two of them for $1,143.54.
Buy in bulk and save.
Exactly. Now you're being smart. Now you're finally having some fucking brains here. So this, of course, not only lightens the wallet of deeply vulnerable people, but can also persuade them to avoid these kind of invasive, in your case, quite invasive, and in the case of the United States, they're expensive.
Don't worry about it. I've got a tumour the size of a football hanging off my neck.
It'll be fine.
But I got a medbed card, so I'll be okay.
Exactly. They're just around the corner. Don't you worry, babe. Just get your card and wait in line. So the website is vague and light in detail. It relies on a fairly boring stock image, doctors in lab coats, flashy silver imagery showing this metal card they're flogging. And after a quick questionnaire, which you can just answer however you like, you're sent straight to the sales page. Now, this is where you get all the usual shit. Sales pressure tactics. Only a few left. Andrew in Nebraska just bought 10 of them. Hurry, give me your email address. Stock is limited. Act now.
They're running out of cards, folks.
They're running out of cards.
Lower on the page in the FAQ, it says, what is the medbed ionic card?
What is it? What is it?
Putting
Tell
that
us.
ionic word in there just makes it. The medbed card is made of metal. And personalised with your name. With it, you receive, that doesn't sound like much just at the minute. With it, you save exclusive information about terahertz technology.
Good.
You'll be among the first to know.
Among the first, not the first to know, among the
You'd
first to
expect
know.
to be first.
I'd like to be first.
No. Up to 70% discounts on all products as a member.
Good.
Being the critical words there. And personalised offers delivered directly to your medbed. No, to your email.
Good. So
your
you're on an email list.
The medbed card has no other function or meaning beyond the benefits listed above. That's also in the FAQ. What?
That's quite honest.
That is an honest statement.
That is terrifyingly honest.
It's just been lying all the time. They go, look, it's just a fucking metal card.
It's just a metal card,
It's
mate.
astonishingly expensive for a metal card.
And you're also on an email list. Don't worry about it. So that's right. It is a card. And Donald Trump just posted an ad for this. The president of the United States of America.
It beats health policy,
Yeah, I know, fucking right. They're making America.
That's expensive shit, right?
Yeah, that's really
expensive shit.
But terahertz technology.
Wow.
So we don't know whether he got a kickback for this or not, whether he's just stupid enough to believe it or not. But either way, this is not good.
No, and it must be said, because subsequent to this, the president did head off to see his physician in what some conspiracy theorists on the left thought was a sign of his debased
deteriorating health. Yeah.
Uh,
he remains unfortunately alive.
According to the official report, he received a COVID booster.
He did.
And the influenza vaccine.
That really pissed off anti-vaxxers.
Yeah, and
They fucking hated that.
Bobby Kennedy swore he'd never take them.
Yeah.
That's the worst thing you can take is that influenza one.
Fucking
That's
terrible.
the one you can see the mercury in it. You shoot it into your arm, and all of a sudden, you stand erect when it gets to be 100 degrees Fahrenheit.
I'm pretty sure they actually removed the mercury from those shots just to appease anti-vaxxers for no other reason.
It's methyl mercury, of course. We all know this, but it's methyl mercury, and it is secreted out of the body. I mean, through your piss and through your jobbies.
Yes, but if you drink the piss, then you never excrete it. I can see where there's a problem.
Oh, yeah.
This makes sense. This makes sense.
It's a vicious cycle right there.
It is a vicious cycle.
This is not a uniquely American phenomenon. Australia is a big player in the medbed bullshit space. I did not know this. And has its own medbed hawker, Sky Prince, a.k.a. Kerry Ann Thornton. Thornton has been promising these things for years. Oh, come on, Kerry. Her followers have warned some people that these medbed cards are a scam. No, I won't have it.
No good.
Sky Prince is the only legitimate medbed representative in the world.
Yeah.
The cards are fake, but her 4-week course, which teaches people to become a, quote, first contact specialist, unquote, is totally legit. Bargain at $150 a pop. Oh, that is cheap.
Oh, it's a bargain.
For a 4-week course?
Oh, mate, yeah. It's like, I'm guessing it's about an hour.
She's giving it away at that price.
Yeah, it's pretty good. So, look, there's an endless amount of scam websites taking money for the promise of a medbed. This is a very established scam. Some allow you to make an actual appointment before asking for money. How do I know this? Yeah, because one website allowed me to access a medbed as soon as next week.
Wow.
I did find myself stopped by the $300 US registration fee.
Now, that doesn't provide you with a bed. That just allows you to register for one, right?
Making an appointment, baby. But look, this was quite some time ago now. We've been quiet for a bit. So, yeah, that was a thing.
As you can see here, it has glowing testimonials, or the website does. The website does have glowing testimonials from users who have had good results. Not great, though. John here had a 5-star medbed experience, but Emma and Maria, just the 4 stars. So there's room for improvement,
Yeah. So if you were at the show, if you bothered to come and watch us, then you would have seen that there were on the projector that John had a 5-star experience and he was very happy.
Very happy.
Emma and Maria seemed quite happy, but they apparently 4 stars. Oh well. So look, I actually had a medbed. Mum bought it after some intense lobbying and promises of miraculous health benefits to my father. They go for about $6,000 these days. I believe our one was about $3,500. Adjusting for inflation and real estate prices, that's probably a lot. It was a long white mat that had to be carefully folded into 3 to avoid fucking up these magic Tesla coils. Pretty sure I bent them a couple of times.
Oh, Joel.
They've got lots of stuff on the website. It's in German. They use the word Alterung.
Do they?
Yeah, Alterung.
Well, if it's nothing bad ever came from anyone who spoke German, Joel.
Jack, have you heard of Vorsprung technique?
Oh my God! Yeah.
You wouldn't know. So QRS stands for quantum resonance stimulation, which I'm pretty sure is a made-up term. But this is the magic mat. It used apparently PEMF, which is pulsed electromagnetic field therapy. And this also sounds kind of cool and sciencey, but not as cool as quantum resonance.
Quantum resonance. PEMF, that is your pulsed electromagnetic field therapy, has been used by merciful veterinarians attempting to repair fractured bones on racehorses instead of just shooting them in the stables or indeed on the course. I've always said that if something is good enough for a racehorse, it's good enough for me. In fact,
yes.
Probably too good for you, actually.
Yeah, you can't afford that
worth
shit.
Millions of dollars. The company also claims that it was used on the Mir space station to counteract calcium depletion in cosmonauts' bones.
Eat some yogurt, you fucking idiots. Anyway, look, you'll be stunned to hear there's no conclusive evidence that these things do, anything, really. But I'm convinced that without the medbed, I'd be a fuck degenerate,
Yeah.
with depleted bones, shit
Yeah.
for brains.
Yeah, just walk around just snapping your legs,
Exactly. And look at me now. I'm a podcaster. I've fucking made it. I've made it. I'm like basically like, you know, I'm like
The medbed saved you.
100%. So the medbed video was deleted from Trump's Truth Social account, but remained up for 12 long hours, and the damage has absolutely been done because medbeds just became legitimate to those who want to believe and were looking for something to affirm this fucked up belief, or these scam peddlers who prey on the vulnerable horde of idiots that are available to them. So this whole new audience has just opened up to this blatant scam, and it not only seeks to rip people off.
It's not just for QAnon folk anymore.
No, it's fucking mainstream. And this just gives them false hope that, like, sure, financial decisions are bad, but it may lead to devastating health decisions.
Now, whether this is an intentional attempt to amplify a dangerous conspiracy theory for money or just a thoughtless act from a bumbling idiot, we just don't know. But the last thing we fucking need right now is very sick people choosing to wait for a med bed instead of receiving actual treatment for their conditions. Actual expensive treatment.
That's right.
In the American public health system, so to speak.
Yep.
These people really are despicable. I guess we're talking about Kennedy and Maha there. But Joel, while Donald Trump is waging war on Antifa, who are out there Antifing,
terrorists
in Portland, Gympie Regional Council is waging war on teeth in Queensland. It's about time, quite frankly. Those white bastards have had it all their way for a long time. The mayor of Gympie claims this is a cost issue and they are not pandering to conspiracy theories. Nah, I wouldn't dream of it. The move will cost $100,000 to implement, but will save $225,000 a year and reduce by rates by 0.5% per annum. Win-win for the people of Gympie.
I'm listening, I'm hearing it, and all I can hear is, oh, yeah, sure, bullshit. And I did look this up. He may well believe that because he is the most boring fucking man on earth. Businessman turned mayor. He does
Gympie businessman turned mayor.
Yeah. Oh, this guy, honestly, just looking at him, I just like got tired. Photos of high school, you know, and like that's a tangible saving. Like that's money. I get it.
Yeah, look, then you have Warren McEwen, another vote to make teeth black again. And despite a casual plug for a local chiropractor,
yeah,
and a bit of moaning about wind farms, it seems like the only thing he gives a shit about is beef.
Yeah.
He cares a lot about beef, does Warren McEwen. He's really into it.
He loves
the
beef.
other councillors are equally boring. No chemtrails, nothing about Nuremberg, either the original or the sequel. Are they stupid? Maybe. But it's like they are just representing their loudest constituents. Cookers.
Well, there is always one, though. One of the councillors, Alona Lan, is a massive cooker. Now,
yeah, she is.
We're about to go down an Alona Lan rabbit hole. Her candidate profile is quite about her beliefs on vaccines and fluoridation up front, but that's how they tend to get elected. They don't say much about how fucking cooked they are. But, of course, you will rarely find a cooker capable of keeping their mouth shut. This is
true.
It makes them feel good. So her Instagram shows the usual nonsense about vaccines, fluoride, and whatever right-wing talking point she's told to be upset about that week. It's so fucking predictable. She's not smart.
She also made the Daily Mail, that is Alona Lan, when her daughter suffered an allergic reaction to a bee sting, and doctors discovered she had type 1 diabetes.
Not good.
Her mother tried to hide this from the child and wanted to explore natural remedies instead of using insulin, resulting in a call to Child Protective Services, which is absolutely right. That child will die without insulin.
Yeah. So the Mail reported Lan as a furious Queensland mother who was unfairly reported to Child Protection Services after her 12-year-old daughter was airlifted to hospital due to an allergic reaction to a bee sting. Well, yeah, but the daughter became lethargic and unable to eat properly. Yeah. Very strange reaction to a bee sting. Lethargic, unable to eat properly. Might not have been a bee sting.
Look, I mean, some people are allergic to bees. I believe it's pretty...
Sure, it's an anaphylactic reaction. Totally fucking different.
I'd been stung by bees on the feet and stuff, and my feet would always really, really swell up. So one day, I was about 17 or 18, I got stung on the neck.
Oh,
and I thought, the same thing's going to happen, and I will die. No.
But you're okay.
I'm not allergic to bee stings. It's just if you get stung on the foot, you're going to keep walking on your foot, so it's just going to
makes it worse, yeah. You didn't chuck a Macaulay Culkin, which is good.
Anyway, the daughter was taken to the ICU. It wasn't a bee sting making her so sick. It was a ketoacidosis, and that is a lack of insulin in the system. Turns out the kid was a type 1 diabetic, undiagnosed, at 12, by the way. How long's that been going on for? Anyway, Now to be fair to her mammy, Alona Lan, diagnosis between 10 and 14 years of age is very normal. But I'm sorry if I think her distrust of conventional medicine may have played a part in her late diagnosis. I
Took
think
a fucking
all be
beat.
a little bit cynical about that.
I mean, fuck off. That's bullshit. I mean, come on, man. Like, just take your kid to a doctor, you psychopath. Anyway, so Lan asks for the doctors to withhold the diagnosis for the child's mental health.
Ooh.
Yeah, red flag, right? Red flag. Then she told the Mail quite willingly that she questioned the diagnosis because there were no conclusive tests. And then she asked the doctors about alternative medical options other than insulin.
Like just honey? I mean, what does she think? What does she think's going on here?
Insulin's really important to a type 1 diabetic. I believe they're really big on it. It's one of those things you can't grow out of.
No,
fucking
if you're
idiots.
Type 1 diabetes. If you suffer from type 1 diabetes, you will be required to inject insulin really for the rest of your life.
Or something that Joe Rogan
alternative
sells.
medical options.
Yeah, red flag number 2.
Yeah, what the fuck?
Fuck. So anyway, so she also, quote, asked lots of questions, as I believe a concerned mother
Just
should.
Just asking questions.
asking
Kind of like doing your
questions.
own research, which means researching other cookers' research.
Yeah, that's pretty much how this plays out. So it's unclear whether that's when they called the cops or if it was after she divulged their alternative family lifestyle choices, including their predilection toward homeschooling.
Oh my God, those poor children.
Oh, it's so fucking bad. So it turns out the doctors started asking questions, which is apparently very normal and good.
That's okay. That's
This
okay.
is-
So far, that's okay.
It's how they believe a concerned doctor should behave.
Just
right?
doing his own. Just doing those doctors. Just doing their own
They're
research.
just doing their own research, yeah. So then Lan went on to tell the Mail that one of the hardest things I've ever had to do in my life is give my non-medicated, pure daughter an insulin needle. Fuck you. But was stunned that someone from the ICU called CPS because they were worried that she may not administer the insulin the child needed to, live. Live. Like survive. Because this person's a fucking idiot.
Are genuine concerns. Yeah.
Genuine concerns. This person's a moron. Anyway, so that's not relevant. I just think that it's fucking wild that she was reported to be a furious Queensland mum that was hard done by at the hospital and not a negligent crackpot who put her kid in harm's way for the sake of some cooker bullshit. This idiot is deciding whether fluoride should be added to water in Gympie. Like, democracy, man, it's not perfect. It's not perfect. It has flaws.
I've said it before and I'll say it again. Democracy doesn't work.
It
She has
problems.
been banging the drum on water fluoridation for 20 years, apparently.
Ooh, that's
and
a long
now
time.
she's had a win. Queensland is a little bit weird, isn't it, Joe? We'll get into that, I think.
They're a funny
just
bunch,
who's on
yes.
it, who's on the fluoride and who's not. Anyway, Alona won her seat on the council in a tight three-way race by 23 votes, but they still elected a cooker in Division 5. Conspiracy theorists have targeted council elections as a path to power. We know this, especially through the group My Place,
Yes.
Tinfoil Dale.
And Tinfoil Tales.
Tinfoil Dale, our sisters at Tinfoil Tales know more about this than pretty much any living soul.
Yes.
And they've sought to intensely lobby councils on issues around, cooker madness, drag queen story hours, and fluoridation. I mean, it's back.
Yeah, I know, and it shouldn't be. It shouldn't be back. It is what it is. So the ability for councils, and I'm going to get legal here, the ability for councils to decide on fluoridation in Queensland was implemented in the Water Fluoridation Amendment Regulation 2012 under the steady and completely sane hand of then Premier Campbell Newman. What a fucking guy. This was passed only 4 years after fluoride was mandated by the Bligh government in 2008. Not my favourite government, but that's fine. Fear of fluoride is a bipartisan issue, however, as Labor had a decade to reverse this and did not. They left it to the councils, likely a political decision because they didn't want to, piss off that very vocal minority of terminally online cookers who, might campaign against them as if they're ever going to vote Labor.
And since then, so basically the water fluoridation amendment regulation allowed individual councils to make a determination on it. And since then, including Gympie, 62 of 77 councils have opted out of water fluoridation. The news that Gympie made this decision is merely the following of a trend towards using this discretion to remove fluoride from the water supply.
Now, this sounds very alarming, but over 70% of the population still get neurotoxin-laced death juice. I mean, fluoridated water from their taps. Yeah.
In Queensland.
I used to believe this shit, like, quite strongly.
Yeah, but that's 70% of the population in Queensland, you mean, right?
So still,
I mean,
but
we do know that
28%
Queensland...
gone without. That's a lot.
The Queensland's the most decentralised state in the country. So you'll find that fluoridation, when you talk about that 70% are receiving fluoridation, most of that will be in Brisbane and on the Goldie and on the South Coast.
Yeah, where people live
Coast.
and, exist. Land doesn't vote and all that sort of blah, blah. But at the same time, 28% of Queenslanders are going without. And these are, like you say, they're outside of the city centres. They're rural. This has dire consequences. And like I say, especially in regional areas with less access to dental care.
Yeah, look, and we've talked about this in previous shows. We've actually got a control in front of us, right? And Calgary City Council in Alberta removed fluoride from their water supply in 2011, and 10 years later held a plebiscite on the matter where 62% of respondents voted to put it back in. Yeah, good move. The fluoridation system was going to cost $20 million to fix and $1 million a year to keep running, so they thought, similar to some of those in Gympie, to ditch the program and save a few bucks. It was just like Gympie, a political decision as well. The people they talked to wanted fluoride gone, and so it went. Yeah.
Look, you would think that Big Tooth are cheering this decision, right? That's what Big Tooth would want. Yeah, right. This makes sense.
But while Alberta had gone this way, in that 10-year period, we just got enormous amounts of data to show just what a disaster this policy had been. The numbers of children who required dental surgery under anaesthesia,
yes,
just multiplied by hundreds and hundreds of percent.
Yeah,
and this is just nutty stuff, and we actually have the data that proves it all, but Alona and the Gympie folk just go, nah, it's awful.
If you think that having a toothache is a problem, imagine what it requires to have anesthesia, general anesthesia.
Surgery under anesthesia. I mean, some children...
Your face is melting at that point.
Yeah, some children, of course, just are so fearful of the dentist that they need to be anaesthetised.
Well, it's also
even
just
a
a matter
basic
of pain.
dental procedure. Oh, it might be a filling or it might be something like that. So it's not, not just emergency stuff. The other thing to imagine, this is something that the Australian Greens put about before the last election. They want dental care to be Medicareable.
Dr. Medicare, yeah.
Which makes a lot of sense because
Makes a lot of sense.
Just has a huge impact on people's health, particularly older people. I know my teeth need a fair bit of work, but there are heightened risks of cardiovascular events. There are heightened risk of really serious health problems just emanating from your teeth.
And that stuff costs money.
Yeah, and obviously, if you're in a low socioeconomic group, you can't afford to go to the dentist and pay thousands of dollars. No. However, getting back to your point, Joel, fluoridation is the best means of getting developing teeth healthy.
Well, also, taking fluoride out is a great way of making dentists rich. So I'm wondering why all these dental organisations are working against their best interests and suggesting that we should ruin their profit margins by putting all this fucking tooth juice into the fluoride water.
Perhaps they're working out of something called altruism, Joel.
You make me sick. The market has no time for your nonsense. But look, it does make a bit of sense because fluoride mandates hit hardest on the poorest. So these are the people who can't afford to make the dentist rich anyway. And of course, once they fucking leave it forever because their toothache they can't afford to address, they leave it so late that the public health system has to foot the bill anyway. So, I mean, look, when it comes to it, it's really, there's no benefit. And if you think of the poor beef guy, I mean, this beef guy did not think this through, right? Because who's going to buy his fucking steaks when no one's got any teeth?
It's a lot of hamburger meat.
He's not thinking into the future. He's going to regret this vote in a few years' time when he starts thinking,
can you vitamize a steak and just suck it through with straw?
Beef mince sales are through the roof, but I tell you what, I couldn't move a Scotch fillet if I fucking paid for it. Yeah, it's silly. Anyway, so look, when it comes down to it, until the government foots the bill for fluoridation, there will always be this sort of Colbert Kimmel excuse for getting rid of it. You know, the whole weasel words about how it's a savings measure. It's not a fucking savings measure, motherfucker. You know, maybe in some instances it is, but at the same time, I mean, like, dude.
Maybe get rid of insulin while we're at it.
Well, yeah, exactly. I mean, look, is there a natural replacement? Please let me know. It won't be cheaper.
Well, look, none of this counts for Alona Wan, and it certainly isn't for the terminally online and perpetually unemployed cookers. The pressure councillors to do their weird, maladjusted, conspiracy-inspired bidding. And in a race where it's decided by a handful of votes, 23 votes. Oh, God.
23 votes, mate.
Yeah, and there's probably only a couple of hundred cast in the whole, you know.
Yeah.
What am I talking about? The
ward, I think they call them.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. And in a race where it's decided by a handful of votes, as we were just talking about, well, I couldn't think of the word ward, pandering to the local cookers can get you over the line. And so, yeah, it becomes politicised.
It becomes fucked. It's a handful of families who decide how cooked they are and whether we have fluoride in water or not.
And it's going to affect the health of every single person in that area for the rest of their lives.
Well, let's continue.
Nice work, guys. You fucking idiots.
We should continue a theme of health and talk more about health, ill health.
Yes, indeed.
So, what happens when medical science fails, my friend? Well, that's a hypothetical question because what happens when men of women make decisions, men of science and medicine, make decisions that make people feel worse and lead to premature death? This is some depressing shit because 2 months ago, as some of you guys will be aware, maybe 3 at this point, Jack did an interview with the doting husband of Jenny, Peter, right? Who suffers from MECFS.
Yes,
and we're going to revisit this because it's important and it's a thing. So we heard the story of how this incredibly active woman who was more or less reduced to being homebound, if not bedbound, for much of her life, how this all played out. And the story will appear in the Weekend Australian magazine in November, where we're going to flesh this out. Well, Jack's going to flesh this out in
it's
great
a
detail.
Lovely story. At one level, it's a love story. I mean,
it is.
This couple, Jen and Pete, they had probably about one good year of marriage, and then Pete was he was a pretty high profile guy in the IT world, and so he was going over to business meetings in the UK and in the US in California. And as I say, a year after he married his wife, he said to himself, "Why don't you take some leave and we'll go to London, we'll go to Paris, we'll go to the United States. We'll go and see the Grand Canyon." Now they did all those things, but it's pretty much as soon as Jen arrived in London, she developed a viral infection. She's not quite sure what it was. It was probably an influenza, something of that order. And this is the normal kicker for me. And I'm going to call it ME, and we'll get to nomenclature in a little while. Yeah. I'm going to call it ME, not CFS, because CFS is it's a way of distorting what the condition is.
It's a tired term.
Look, there's a history to it.
Yeah,
and it's part of a larger history of this condition being psychologized by people in the medical science world who should know better.
Yeah,
but the original condition, myalgic encephalomyelitis, was first identified in the 1950s, well before this condition became known as chronic fatigue. We'll get into it, the hows and the how-nots shortly about that. But Jen was an extraordinarily active woman. She was born in rural Victoria. She travelled the world. She hiked across the Hindu Kush. She and a few mates were airlifted into remote Tasmanian wilderness and hiked out 7 days later.
Fuck that.
Incredible. Apparently, Pete was telling me he still goes for a swim. She misses it so much. And
I'm tired
and
just thinking about it. Fuck that.
because she can swim, you know. She's one of
Yeah,
those
like
one of those
actual
people who
swim.
can actually glide through the water at pace.
Yeah.
And Peter's obviously not, but she misses her swimming, and those things have sort of been taken from her now.
Yeah,
Um,
that's unfair.
So, you know, she developed this infection in London. She thought it was the flu. She found it almost impossible to shake off. They did go to see Paris. They did go and see the Grand Canyon, but she was pretty much crook throughout it.
Yeah.
And when they returned to Melbourne, Jen works as a speech pathologist. She was employed by the education department. She'd work with kids in primary schools. She went back to work and she just felt this sort of a whole range of symptoms, but there was one little sort of red flag that she sort of discovered, that at lunchtime she was going to sit in her car and fall asleep.
Yeah, that's not normal.
And several years later, she was diagnosed with ME, myalgic encephalomyelitis. It's the correct name for the condition. And the available treatments for ME were a mix of cognitive behaviour therapy. And there's nothing wrong with cognitive behaviour therapy, because, you know, if you do have a lifelong condition without a cure, you probably do need to adjust the way you think and adjust to these sort of shifting circumstances. But the CBT in question around treatment of ME was to say, you know, you're suffering from a condition that doesn't exist. Now, that CBT was combined with graded exercise therapy. Now, again, Jen took all this. She's, you know, as I say, well-travelled, fit, active person. She undertook all of these things willingly. She had read of a study known as the PACE study, which was undertaken in the UK. Jen undertook the prescribed treatments, especially the GET, that is the graded exercise therapy. She went on a residential program of exercise and therapy. She undertook a program with an exercise therapist who implored her to start walking a 200-metre stretch from her home to the letterbox, a post box.
Which is not far compared to a helicopter drop-off.
And then was implored to go further and further every day. One time that led to her basically collapsing in front of the letterbox. She just couldn't get any further. Not only did CBT and GET not work for her, and so many hundreds of thousands, if not millions, of ME sufferers around the world, it made her condition worse. It pushed her from moderate ME into a severe form of the condition and left her largely housebound, often bedbound, trying to raise a young family. It's a nightmare. And Jen's story is a long way from unique. It is the standard treatment accepted for decades. It's just been changed, but still in Australia it remains, according to the RACGP, GET therapy is described as the optimal therapy, with some weasel words and caveats around it that has just come out in what's called the RACGP handy notebook, which is the book on non-drug responses to particular conditions.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, so look, to Jen and Peter's great distress and just additional fucking pain, their daughter was diagnosed with ME when she turned 12. Their daughter did not undergo GET or CBT for that matter, and by this time, the couple knew that medical science, for the most part, had trivialized ME and came up with treatments that only made ME people worse. It's been going on now for 30 years. The rate of ME diagnosis has spiraled too, and this is, of course, many driven by COVID infection.
Yeah, so we've got a new form of driving people into ME.
Yeah, it's the long COVID thing. So let's get into the history of it.
It's separate. I just got to
No, go.
It is separate from long COVID. It's related, and there are a lot of studies on long COVID to see what's causing that.
Yeah,
but
it's easy to get misdiagnosed though.
It's incredibly difficult, and then it's made even worse by the fact that the people that ME people find it very difficult just to do simple things like go to a doctor.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's get into the history, Joel.
Much harder. All right, so ME was first identified as an illness in the UK in the 1950s, and little was known of its causes, other than the overwhelming majority of sufferers had a primary cause, an infection, usually a respiratory infection, like a dose of the flu, like we just heard of before. But it was then determined to be a chronic condition which there was no cure. It's a very unpleasant thing to hear. We can't be certain how many Australians suffer ME/CFS, even to the closest 100,000. It's very ambiguous, but estimates range from 120 to 250,000.
It's probably in the high 100s, yeah.
Yeah, but like, who fucking knows? There are an estimated 70 million sufferers around the world, but then again, there are no precise figures. Diagnosis is very difficult. This whole thing is a mess. It is likely the number is growing, especially fast growing following COVID infection. Fatigue and exhaustion are merely two of the symptoms. You got migraines, cluster headaches, acute audio and visual sensory response, insomnia disturbances. These are common symptoms of a nightmarish illness condition, which there is no cure. This is like a lifelong jail sentence.
Yeah, it's really awful. And another symptom is basically a lack of appetite. I mean, it doesn't affect everybody that way, but there was a particularly appalling case where a young woman basically died of malnutrition in the UK.
Yeah.
But look, everything's controversial about ME. Top of the list of ME is a condition known as post-exertional malaise, PEM. This symptom alone screamed that forced exercise was not just counterproductive to ME, but in many cases highly destructive. And PM was acknowledged in studies on ME more than 50 years ago. PM, post-exertional malaise, and its effect on sufferers were largely ignored in the UK as the science was handed to a group of psychiatrists who developed theories and new treatments, founded on an assumption that the condition was psychosomatic. It's all in your head. I guess one of the things we should say, and we probably do say a little bit further down here, Joe, is that 75% of sufferers are women.
Yeah.
So this is all too common. A response from medical science, particularly to psychologise it.
Yeah.
We go back to sort of more historical Freudian concepts of hysteria in women.
Yeah.
I mean, the DSM, which is the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual that psychiatrists use for diagnoses, hysteria was still appearing in the DSM, I think the second edition in the 1960s.
Jesus.
So there's this kind of sense that if it's a woman's condition, bloody women, we don't understand them.
They're the worst.
So we're just going to call it all hysteria.
Yeah.
And in this case, when a large number of, as I say, 3/4 of women, 3/4 of the large group of ME sufferers, 3/4 of whom are women statistically, it was just decided that it was psychosomatic. I mean, how this all happened, the PACE study in particular, is really interesting. One thing health administrators and health politicians don't want to hear is, here is a relatively new condition. It is growing. We've got large numbers in our country who are suffering from it. The last thing they want to hear about that is that it's incurable. Yeah. Because then all sorts of costs are associated in terms of care.
Yeah.
In terms of care for that person.
Never-ending spreadsheet.
That's right. So if some person, particularly some psychiatrist, comes along and says, "Oh no, I think we can sort this out."
Yeah, don't worry, mate. Your spreadsheet's going to end at 112 lines. I'll be most of them.
And that person or group of medical scientists, in this case psychiatrists, say, "Well, give us some research money, and we'll fix it." And that's essentially what happened with this PACE study. Now, there were, I think, about 640, it was 641 people. They were supposed to be ME/CFS sufferers. Were included in this study, and they were and they were broken down into, I think, 3 different groups, and the group that responded most was the group that was given CBT, as we described before, and GET, graded exercise therapy.
Yep.
So that study, as limited as it was, became the treatment method for all ME people going forward. There are all sorts of issues around diagnoses and these sorts of things. But when someone was diagnosed with ME, the first thing, if they lived in the UK, if they lived in the United States, if they lived in Australia, they would be told to get graded exercise therapy and CBT.
People are told this with depression as well. Oh, just go and work out. And yeah, sure. This, like a mate of mine who suffered anxiety and depression for years, she runs every morning, even when she's hungover, because it has a world of different sort of mental health. But also other people who don't have these miraculous results from exercise find it fucking trivializing to be told, you know what? You're sad, go for a run.
Fully accept that. But
Fucking
the problem
so
with the PACE study is that it was essentially fraudulent. The 641 participants, because there are no recognised biomarkers around ME, we can't be sure how many of those 641 people had ME.
No, you don't know.
We can't be sure about that. None of this was expanded on in the study in any way, by the way. And so you may have had people who just said, "Gee, I feel a bit peakish. I feel a bit tired."
Yeah.
Oh, in you go. Go into the study for us. So that's the fraudulent aspect. But it has driven therapy for the last 22 years. Millions of people, often being consigned to terrible, terrible lives, and prescribed treatments that will make them worse. Every person who has ME gets PEM, right? There's other things like POTS that they suffer from as well, which actually makes POTS is, it's an acronym. I can't think of what it stands for, but that you cannot stand in one place for very long.
Yeah.
That's called POTS. So you look it up for me, Joel, if you've got a computer in front of you.
I do.
POTS, I should know it. But that's another thing. So you're actually subject...
Post-postural orthostatic tachycardia syndrome, a medical condition affect... Yeah.
There you go. It's amazing I couldn't remember that. And so people have immediate physical difficulties just in doing exercise. So all of these people, including Jen, with her previously very active lifestyle, have entered into these treatments in good faith, only to be made worse by it. Now, I just want to get into nomenclature because we talked about at the start of this. So, as I said to you before, it was ME from the 1950s, but in 1988, the CDC recognised the condition as ME, but decided on a new name for it. This is the Centres for Disease Control, and called it chronic fatigue syndrome. So it's ME first, chronic fatigue syndrome in 1988. One doctor in that CDC group, Harvard-trained physician Dr. Anthony Komaroff, later described the new name as a big mistake. What did he say, Joel? Have you got that in front of you?
The name, in my opinion, and in the opinion of a lot of people, both trivializes and stigmatizes the illness.
I mean, look, I may as well just keep going. But so the word syndrome is different from condition. The word syndrome intimates psychosomatic condition, possibly. It's not a recognizable condition in this way. And chronic fatigue just means, could mean that you're just a bit tired, or and don't we all get a bit tired? So language is kind of really important. Well, language is really important, not kind of. It's really, really important. So they changed this thing from a syndrome, or from a condition to a syndrome. And they thought, well, we can fix these people. And then along came the study, and it was driven by a psychiatrist by the name of Professor Sir Simon Wesley, and I'm reading from his King's College bio now. He's a well-renowned academic psychiatrist and epidemiologist who trained at the Maudsley and has been with the Institute of Psychiatry, Psychology and Neuroscience and King's for over 35 years. He was knighted in 2013, after the PACE study, by the way, for services to military, healthcare and psychological medicine. And in 2017 became the first Regius Regius Professor of Psychiatry in the country. This guy is in your who's who. This guy is considered, HRH on His Majesty's service psychiatrist to the House of Windsor. God, geez, that'd keep you busy, wouldn't it?
Well, Andrew's leaving soon, so that'll quieten the books.
Yeah, well, Andrew would take up a fair bit.
He
of
would.
his time.
He would.
But this guy, it's the arrogance.
It is the fucking arrogance.
It's the absolute arrogance. He used to fight, and look, and there were people with ME and their families who would give him buggery on social media, Wesley. And he ended up saying, well, I don't want to work in this space anymore. I'm going to concentrate on something far less dangerous.
Like
and that was Gulf War syndrome. Do you remember the Gulf War syndrome?
Of course, yep.
There's another psychologizing condition where people hang around highly dangerous munitions.
Depleted uranium.
Often uranium depleted and what have you, and then come home, feel a bit sick. And he goes, well, you know what you got there? It's something
You're
in your
just
head.
sad.
Yeah. Look, as I say, 641 patients, most of them, we don't know how many of those 640 actually had ME. So the study was just junk. And this is not just me saying that. Joel, David Tuller, I interviewed David Tuller, is a journalist and public health lecturer at the University of California, Berkeley Center for Global Public Health. He spent his early career covering HIV/AIDS, then pivoted to ME/CFS. Tell us what he thinks, what David Tuller thinks of the PACE study.
The PACE study is a piece of crap. I refer to it as fraudulent in the sense that it is deliberately deceptive. He goes on to say, it's important to understand that people with ME/CFS have no biomarkers, a measurable indicator of an illness that is widely accepted at the coalface of medical science. It's very hard to know what the participants were suffering other than unexplained fatigue. Some patients had PEM, some did not. Well, everyone with ME has PEM.
PEM, they say Sorry.
But that's what it is.
But that post-exertional malaise, that is something everyone with
I
ME
get it too.
gets.
Not quite to the same extent, but like it's a silly thing.
It's actually a really significant response from the body that lays people low. So someone like Jen, for example, that we talked about at the start of the show, she might go out for a walk with her husband. She might get 200 metres or something. She might go and have lunch with some fellow ME people. But afterwards, it's like she's gone on a massive bender and, had 30 schooners. She will be crook for days afterwards. She will be, suffering headaches. She has audio, sensory issues. She has all these sorts of things, headaches and so forth. So we have lived with this now until 2020. In Australia, we still live with these appalling medical responses. The Royal Australian College of General Practitioners continues to persist with with all their caveats, and I sent off questions to the RACGP about what is listed in their handy notebooks that all GPs were referred to. You've got to understand, if someone comes into your clinic and they've got ME, and you're a GP, you haven't got a clue what.
No, you don't.
Right?
And fair enough.
You are going to pull out your handy notebook, and in that handy notebook, it'll say, "Well, a lot of patients will respond to graded exercise therapy and PEM." Meanwhile, in the NIH in the UK, in 2021, they said enough of this. There is enough data now to suggest that this is dangerous. So they changed their therapy methods, and it's basically based on exercise as much as you can.
Okay.
As much as is safe
as much
for you
as makes
to
sense.
do. And the CDC in the pre-Kennedy days, I think 2023, did the same.
Yeah, okay.
But in Australia, we're still hanging on to this. I think it will change, but none of these people, Wesley or the RACGP or any of these people, some of whom, by the way, had controlling interests or had invested in some of these exercise therapy program setups.
That's not good. We don't like that.
We don't like that at all. Anyway, there has been further study, and the Australian biochemistry is going to drive a lot of this. There's been some great work done on basically the smell of an oily rag. But the big news this year was the Decode Me study, which is known as a Scottish study, and significant numbers of people with ME and with control groups, etc. There was found to be a genetic link. And that means that it's not a not a psychiatric condition. That means it is a physiological condition. And that means the psychologizing of this by people like Sir fucking Professor Wesley have fucking dudded people for years, and then had the fucking the shamefulness to argue the righteousness of their
and to
position.
blame them for their own travails, which is just that.
Oh, and then get nasty,
me.
and then get upset and angry when people express themselves angrily to them. We've had people taken from their homes and placed into medical care that have died. This is in the UK. Absolutely appalling stuff. It's not good. And it is based, I am absolutely certain of it, that it is that this mistreatment, these difficulties with diagnoses, the lack of research funding. I mean, the Australian government has not put nearly enough money into this. There's a little bit of money that's finding its way because there are a lot of studies into long COVID now, which is a separate and distinct thing, or there may be a relationship.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
Yeah, so there is a little bit of moaning, but the Decode Me said, you know, here are genetic markers. Now, there's other studies that would indicate mitochondrial damage or mitochondrial responses from people with ME that are not the same as the rest of us.
I've seen mito.
There's also a prospect of a one-off blood test to diagnose ME. These things are all
in the works.
In the works at the moment, under study at the moment. It's just an awful thing, but I'm absolutely convinced. That this is that the failures are largely due to the fact that the majority, 3 out of 4 sufferers of ME, are women.
Yeah, look, they've got a terrible history.
I just want to very quickly wrap it up. We'll just say this is what the RACGP says in its handy notebook. Right, which is what GPs will reach for when anyone walks through their door with ME.
And they won't be liable for prescribing anything that's in it. So, there's that. Well,
Yeah. And that handy, by the way, I mean, it's published, I think, published and revised every 3 or 4 years. It's just been released. So this is it. Unaccustomed activity. The whole basis of this was that first infection, in Jen's case, probably an influenza infection. That first case, the theory was, this is pushed by Wesley and others, that you have rested too long from that condition. You have deconditioned your body and you need to recondition your body through graded exercise therapy. So here's what the RACGP handy notebook says to this fucking day, current. Unaccustomed activity can produce or exacerbate many this is the caveats, right? Unaccustomed activity can produce or exacerbate many CFS ME symptoms. A mild and transient increase in symptoms is explained as a normal response to an increase in physical activity. However, a more severe or sustained exacerbation suggests the activity was excessive. Patients may feel shamed or blamed if it is implied they are too fearful of activity or too fearful of exacerbating their symptoms of post-exertional malaise. Onset of PM may be delayed for up to 3 days after exercise. So those are the sort of weasel words that are attached to the handy notebook, which if your GP is in a hurry, he's just going to look at that and say, you know what you need? You need graded exercise therapy.
Yeah, that's response.
So there you go. That was one of those things. And the question that I sort of put rhetorically to the group at Skepticon was that, is this a failure of medical science? And the answer is no, it's not. It's a failure along the normal human lines of ego, of reputational enhancement, of a grab for funding cash. That will lead to really poor outcomes. In this case, poor outcomes essentially for women, and let's not forget the men who suffer from ME as well. Terrible work, Sir Simon Wesley, and so many others. You have let so many people down.
And like I say, for ego, it's shit.
I did recommend Sir Simon Wesley for the Bent Spoon Award at Skepticon, but I believe you've got to be a local.
Yes.
And by the way, Joel, Pete Evans was the only double recipient of the Bent Spoon
Bless his
Award.
heart.
I noticed that on
Bless
the trophy.
his heart. Well, look, we would like to see a nomination for the Bent Spoon go to Bobby Kennedy Jr., but of course the skeptics are fully...
Yeah, he's got to be local.
Well,
He's
but they're well
local.
aware of the fact that if he was to get his hands on a spoon, he'd just use it to cook heroin. So we can't have that. So no spoon for you, Bobby.
Well, old habits.
You can't be trusted around cutlery for 1,000 reasons. Anyway, that takes us out.
That does take us out. It was a joy to be at
It was a fantastic
Skepticon.
time.
We were restrained to a pretty tight hour because there were obviously
those after us
talks and speeches. All that there were some very, very high profile people there, and I was delighted to hear some people come up to me afterwards and say, "I'm so glad you did it."
Yeah, that was quite touching. Actually, it was quite nice.
Yeah. So we would love to be involved in Skepticon again. It's a great bit of fun. And,
good organisation.
And the Skeptics Group, they've got state setups around the country. But the Skeptics Group, they are kind of an older brigade.
As anyone who leaves the house these days, God.
Yeah, and I think they could do with an injection of some new members. And so if you are looking at joining a group, their magazines are no more. I remember looking at the Skeptics magazines years ago. They have only just ceased publication of them, and they're getting their sort of web-based stuff together. But it was always amusingly written.
Yeah.
As the skeptics say, if you say you can fly, I don't say you can't fly. I'll just say,
show me how.
Show me you fly.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the kind of the mindset that I want to go with. I don't want to discount everything that's interesting. I just want to discount everything that is completely unreplicable and complete bullshit. Like the Ozenkadnook Tiger, for example. Yeah,
there you go. Yes, the Ozenkadnook Tiger, or
all right. Well, thanks, guys.
Or, empathy and psychiatry.
We will be hopefully doing some face-to-face time with our patrons soon because you guys have been very patient, and we'd love you for that.
Yes, we've got to do some Zoomy stuff, and we've got a new episode of CPR in the pipes. It has to be written, but we've got some really good ideas.
I have so much stuff written, but I just need to finish it off. Jamie McIntyre, I've got a bunch of stuff, but it needs to be finished because it cannot be released until it's perfect, which is my greatest flaw and feature.
Well, look, thanks for putting up with our rather long-winded version of the 1 hour that we did. I think we've got almost 2.5 hours.
It's 2 and a bit. It'll let it down.
All right.
Thanks, guys.
We'll go with that. Thanks,
See ya.
listeners.
Bye.
Speak soon.
I don't think I ever want to talk to any of those people.
Fuck me, you guys are bastards!